TV Américas News te invita a seguir su podcast diario con los encabezados de los principales diarios nacionales e internacionales.
In 2026, TV America's News invites you to follow our daily podcast featuring headlines from top national and international newspapers.
En Boschetti Truman le invitamos a consultar a su abogado personal y conozca MIA, nuestra inteligencia legal y regulatoria diseñada para todos los sectores.
Boschetti Truman, powered by MIA, our legal and regulatory intelligence designed for the public, business, and citizen sector.
Okay, so imagine for a second that we have access to a time machine.
Right.
But we're not going back to, the dinosaurs or the Roman Empire. We're just jumping forward a couple of years.
A little hop.
Yeah, just a little hop. We land on a Tuesday morning, specifically February 3rd, 2026. You're sitting at your desk, coffee's hot, you open your screen, and you get a briefing.
But it's not the New York Times.
No, not the Wall Street Journal either. This is something different.
It's a stack of internal documents, scripts, strategy notes from a network called TV America's News.
Exactly. We have the raw feed here. I mean, we've got CEO insights, we've got these country-by-country breakdowns.
And my favorite part, the internal voiceover instructions for the anchors.
Yes. It's like we're peeking behind the curtain of a future news cycle. And reading through these, you get this incredibly vivid, almost overwhelming picture of where the world is heading.
It really is a goldmine, because when you look at the internal machinery of a broadcast like this, one focused on, agri-food, culture, business, you stop seeing just news stories.
You start seeing a system.
A whole system, yeah. We're seeing dots connect that usually stay separate, like global environmental treaties linking up with pet food trends in the U.S.
And how that all relates to cruise ship economics in the Caribbean. It's a complex web.
It is.
And I have to mention that one detail from the source material right off the bat, because it just sets the mood so perfectly.
I think I know which one.
That internal note to the anchors, telling them exactly how to sound. It says, tone, Mexican neutral, elegant, professional, and fluid.
That instruction tells you everything about the audience they're targeting.
Exactly. Elegant, professional. This is not sensationalist stuff. This is high-stakes business news for a Latin American and U.S. audience. They're trying to project stability in a chaotic world.
And that desire for stability makes so much sense when you look at the actual content. I mean, if there's one core theme running through this entire stack, it's the intersection of, really, three things.
Okay.
Identity, sustainability, and profitability.
Which brings us to the big mission of this whole deep dive. The sources keep circling back to this one massive idea. Identity is the most profitable asset of this century.
Right.
Which, honestly, sounds a bit like a marketing slogan.
It does sound abstract at first, but the briefing treats it as a hard economic metric, and it starts at the very top with the legal and global landscape.
Right. The briefing opens with the inauguration of COP4, the Escazú Agreement.
Yeah, so let's unpack that. In 2024, Escazú was a talking point. It's about access to information, environmental justice.
But in this 2026 timeline, it seems to have evolved into something much, much heavier.
Much heavier. The source describes this moment as the birth of a glass box phase for governance. The original Spanish, they call it the caja de cristal.
A glass box. That's such a striking image. It means you can't hide anything.
You can't. And the briefing pairs this with a concept they call legal sustainability. So for CEOs, environmental accountability has totally shifted. It used to be a nice to have.
You mean like greenwashing?
Exactly. Put a green leaf on your annual report, plant a few trees, call it a day. That was the PR era.
Right.
But under this glass box framework, the source explicitly warns that obscurity is no longer an option. If you're not transparent about your use of natural resources, your water, your land...
You're not just facing a bad Twitter cycle.
No. You're facing massive legal and reputational risks.
So profitability is.
Yeah.
It's literally measured by how transparent you are.
Yes. If the market can't see inside the box, they assume the worst. The walls of the boardroom have turned transparent. You have to be profitably transparent.
Wow. That's a huge psychological shift for leadership. You're not managing a company, you're managing a fishbowl.
You really are.
Okay, so that's the macro view. But the briefing also zooms in, right? It shows how this plays out on the ground.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Caribbean.
The Dominican Republic, specifically. This was a fascinating segment. The source notes that February 2026 kicks off with a record arrival, over 100 international cruise ships.
100 ships. That is a massive volume of tourists. But the briefing isn't just about the numbers, is it? There's a specific business tip in there.
Right. It's not just about selling T-shirts or bottled water. The briefing uses this fantastic phrase, the culture food binomial.
The culture food binomial. It sounds technical, but what does that actually mean for, say, a business owner on the ground?
It means these tourists, they aren't just buying calories, they are buying identity experiences. They want to consume the culture through the food.
So they don't want a generic chocolate bar they could get back in Ohio.
No, they want Dominican cacao with a story.
And the briefing actually puts a dollar figure on that story.
They do. The source claims that if you have a local product with a narrative, an artisanal story, and it's certified by their National Chamber of Arts connoisseurs, its perceived value jumps by 30%.
Wait, 30%? Just for integrating the cultural narrative?
30%, just for that. Think about that margin. It turns a commodity into an experience. The narrative is the value add.
So integrating culture into your supply chain isn't just some artsy thing. It's a direct revenue booster.
You're selling the identity of the Dominican Republic, and the certification proves it's real.
That connects perfectly to that opening theme, identity is the asset. You're monetizing the root of the product.
It's the difference between selling a product and selling a place. One is a race to the bottom on price, the other commands a premium.
Okay, let's hop over to the mainland. Mexico. Now, usually when we talk about Mexico and trade, it's all about politics. TMEC, USMCA, tariffs.
And the briefing mentions that noise. There's plenty of it in 2026. But, and this is so crucial, the internal documents tell the news team to basically ignore the politics.
Because the real story, the crisis on the ground, is technical.
It's technical. It's the water crisis in the north, the challenge of thirst, as they call it.
Right.
Northern Mexico is this agricultural powerhouse, but it's running dry. And the briefing lays out a very stark solution. It says the only way to maintain export competitiveness is Agriculture 4.0.
Agriculture 4.0? You hear buzzwords like that a lot. Is it just hype here?
In this context, it's survival. We're talking AI, satellite monitoring. But I love how they phrase the benefit. They don't just say, it helps you save water.
What do they say?
They say, digitalizing irrigation is shielding capital.
Shielding capital?
Yeah.
That puts it in such stark financial terms. It's not about being green, it's about protecting your investment.
Exactly, because the water is the variable that can zero you out. Imagine a massive avocado or berry operation. That's millions of dollars of capital in the field.
If you run out of water,
that capital evaporates. So using satellites to measure soil moisture isn't a tech luxury, it's risk management.
So if you can't measure it, you can't grow it, and you can't sell it. Simple as that.
And what's interesting is the contrast. So while Mexico's looking to high-tech satellites, the briefing shows Colombia and the Caribbean looking at a different solution.
This is logistics and geopolitics.
Right. This involves the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. There's a new director, a new strategy they call Strategic Import Substitution.
What's the play there?
The goal is to connect Colombian production directly to the needs of the Caribbean islands.
So instead of the islands importing food from halfway around the world,
they get it from their neighbor, Colombia. Colombia becomes the pantry for the Caribbean.
It just makes so much sense. We all learned how fragile global supply chains are. Why buy from a continent away when Colombia is right there?
It reduces food miles, cuts logistical risk, and it keeps capital circulating within the region. It's regional resilience.
So Mexico shields capital with tech, Colombia shields it with proximity.
Well put.
Okay, let's move north. The United States. This part of the briefing actually made me laugh at first, but it is dead serious business. The humanization of the home.
Yes, specifically pets.
The source mentions this massive trend toward human-grade ingredients for pet food. I mean, my dog eating better than I do.
Well, it reflects consumer psychology. The briefing notes that wellness is now a multi-species concept.
Multi-species wellness. I absolutely love that term.
It's profound, though. If a brand communicates health, the consumer now expects that to apply to the whole household. You can't be a wellness brand for humans and then sell junk to their dogs.
So the trust has to be transversal.
Exactly. If I trust you with my body, I want to trust you with my dog's body. It's all one ecosystem. You break that brand promise if you segment your values.
That is such a good point. It's a real trap for legacy brands.
It is.
Speaking of nutrition, let's look at South America, Peru, and Chile. The briefing calls their exports nutritional gold.
They're talking about superfoods, quinoa, kiwicha. We've known about them for a while, but in 2026, the financial angle is different. The source discusses the NUAM exchange.
That's the integrated stock exchange in the region, right?
Correct. And it allows these superfood companies to capture regional capital. They aren't just selling grains, they're leveraging the financial markets to expand globally.
So they're financializing their agricultural heritage.
That's a great way to put it. Taking an ancestral crop, an identity asset, and using modern financial tools to scale it, it's identity meeting profitability again.
And then, jumping to Puerto Rico, the briefing touches on a different kind of survival. We talked about shielding capital with water. In Puerto Rico, it's about energy.
Right. The source describes the move toward energy autonomy via solar microgrids. But look at how they label it, not infrastructure. They call it life insurance for SMEs.
Life insurance.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So solar panels aren't just about being green, they're about your business staying alive when the grid goes down.
In a region prone to hurricanes, if the main grid fails, you're out of business. The quote is, "Sovereignty is not just elementary, it is energetic."
Resilience is the new baseline for business. If you aren't independent, you're vulnerable.
Now, I want to pivot to what might be the most staggering number in this entire stack of documents. We've talked millions in tourism, but this next figure is in the trillions. It's from the segment on the human element, focusing on the year of the rural woman.
This number stopped me in my tracks. The briefing states that closing the gender gap in agriculture would inject $1 trillion into the global GDP.
$1 trillion. It's just immense.
And the briefing frames this so bluntly for its audience. It says, empowering rural women is not just justice, it is the life insurance of your company.
There's that phrase again, life insurance. It's not an accident. The argument is, if you're in agri-food and you're ignoring half your workforce's potential,
You're leaving massive efficiency on the table.
Exactly. It reframes inequality as a massive inefficiency. It is just bad business to be sexist.
It's a hard-nosed economic reality. You can't maximize profit if you're under-resourcing half your talent pool.
It's not charity, it's economic stimulus.
And speaking of the soft side becoming hard strategy, there's a note here about art and business aesthetics.
Yes, referencing Canardies again. They argue that the aesthetics of an office or even your packaging are the first message of power.
It says a business must show it has soul and root to be trusted.
Soul and root. Think about the world in 2026. It's full of AI, automation, generic digital interfaces. In that environment, the human element, art, culture, it becomes the premium differentiator.
So if your product looks like it came from a soulless factory, it feels cheap.
But if it has soul, if it uses art to signal its origin, its history, it commands respect. It signals real people, and real values are behind it.
I think that's why that Mexican-neutral elegant instruction was there for the anchors. The style is the substance.
Absolutely. We're moving into an economy of meaning. If you don't mean anything, you aren't worth anything.
Okay, before we wrap up, we have hit the flash news segment. 5 rapid-fire items for social media.
Quick hits, but they tell us a lot about priorities. First up, the World Cup 2026.
Right. It says if a brand isn't on the global services map now in February, they will miss the whole logistical wave for the tournament.
The logistics do not wait. Procrastination is fatal.
Then there's Europe, specifically Spain. Resilient landscapes.
This is interesting. The takeaway is that traditional agriculture, the old ways of managing land, it's actually the best safeguard for biodiversity. A return to the old ways to save the future.
And then this one really caught my eye. It links wellness to CEO performance.
Fascinating, wasn't it? It connects family stability directly to corporate leadership. It explicitly mentions trusts and wills.
I never thought I'd see estate planning listed as a performance hack for CEOs, but it makes perfect sense.
It creates mental peace. That's the argument. If a CEO is worried about their family's future, they are not focused on the company.
So the CEO's brain is like the solar grid in Puerto Rico, an asset that needs to be protected from volatility.
Exactly. You can't lead effectively if you're personally stressed.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. From the glass box of legal transparency to pet food trends to the trillion-dollar potential of rural women. When you step back and look at this whole briefing from 2026, what's the big lesson?
The lesson is that the silos are gone. You cannot separate business from the environment. You can't separate culture from food. You can't separate family wellness from corporate leadership.
It's all connected.
It's totally interconnected. And if you try to operate in a silo, if you just sell a product without the culture or run a farm without the data, you are going to fail in this 2026 landscape.
It all comes back to that opening line. Identity is the most profitable asset of this century.
That's the key. And that leads to a really provocative thought for anyone listening. The briefing signs off by inviting people to build the Buen Vivir.
Buen Vivir. That translates roughly to the good living, right? But it means more than just having money.
It's a concept of community well-being, living in harmony with nature and your neighbors. It's the ultimate goal.
So here's the question we want to leave you with. If identity is indeed your most profitable asset, what is the specific identity narrative of your own work?
Exactly. Are you selling a commodity? Or are you selling a culture? Do you have soul and root, or are you just another item on the shelf? Because in 2026, that difference is worth 30% on the margin.
And maybe the survival of your entire business.
Something to think about. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.